Welcome to a special Halloween edition of YGPT, viewer. Enter if you dare, for we are about to dissect the human brain to tell the world why we still love NES games. Castlevania is a tried and true classic to arrive on Nintendo's flagship modern console. The controls are tight, the attacks are clear, precise, and full of boom, and the game just looks nice. For a game about storming Count Dracula's castle, Konami knew that they had to make the atmosphere feel just right. All it took was smart use of the color black to create dark, casted shadows, which also opened up the palette to more colors, and voila, a spooky aesthetic. So pretty, so much fun. Hard too, but not too hard. It's quite the adrenaline rush. A lot of games from this era were like this, but it's just kinda what makes me love them. It's one thing for a game to be successful at launch or during the console's life cycle, but many classic NES games have transcended their era and are still relevant today. Nintendo's Virtual Console showed to be a successful revival of the classic games market, and the Nintendo eShop is showing it to still ring true. How have these games stayed relevant for close to 30 years? Let's investigate a more, dare I say, cerebral field of game design theory, the game industry's interpretation of the brain. The brain is an organ in your head, and it has receptors sensitive to the touch of a neuron, and it's broken up into a bunch of little sections, and there's a bunch of other things I don't know about it. I'm no scientist, as you can clearly see. In the game industry, though, they tried their best to make heads and tails of the basics of brain science, and apply that knowledge to the prospect of playing a game. They came up with a diagram scheme of the brain that's broken up into 4 sections: the play brain, the art brain, the lizard brain, and the machine. The art brain's pretty easy to define. I mean, man, those colors and the visuals of Castlevania, and basically any other well-known NES game, they're great. The appearances are iconic, the color black is used perfectly for the game they made, and many usually tried some sort of unique perspective trick with the visuals at some point. They look adventurous and welcoming. It's pleasing to our figurative senses. The art brain is happy when it sees games like this. Simple enough, eh? The play brain is a bit more complex than you'd think, though. It's not as simple as fun game equals happy play brain. In fact, your play brain takes no part in judging the fun of a game at all. The play brain is the equivalent to your right brain. As opposed to viewing a game like Castlevania from the left brain's side of beauty and art, the right brain visualizes a game in a minimalist system. To your play brain, enemies aren't dogs and swamp creatures and ghosts. They're moving shapes that remove a fixed value from your life variable when they make contact with the player object. The play brain will view a game's most basic elements, filtering out distractions like art and music to see nothing but a set of rules and challenges they have to overcome. The play brain is at an essentially large advantage with older games nowadays because of our robust exposure to superior graphics. It's much easier to see a system in place over top of dated graphics. Our longer exposure to these pixels explain it all. Not to mention subtleties like Simon jerking back in pain from an attack, and those pretty hit flames. They're great indicators of that minimal system in motion. This allows the player to still be engaged with the experience, though perhaps not in the same way we were engaged as kids. Classic games like Castlevania, Contra, Mega Man, Zelda, Mario, these are all games that still look visually pleasing. They were aged like fine wine to represent a simpler system that our new age minds can now more easily dissect upon inspection. The games are small, yet somehow deeper than they were before. Now, show of hands, have you ever been playing one of these games and felt overly emotional while playing it? Maybe you beat a tough boss and threw your arms up and wooed in celebration. Perhaps you died to a boss and were legitimately panicking aloud because of how difficult the boss seems. How about that instinctual fight-or-flight reaction when you have the holy water and you uncover a knife? This, my friends, is the lizard brain at work. Sometimes called the reptilian brain, the resistance, or the sensor. The lizard brain is something we've all heard of at some point. It's our primitive, pre-human instinct, still ingrained into our processes unconsciously. We had this old analogy about the lizard brain in journalism class. Nowadays, this part of the brain is more suppressed to fit our lifestyle. We don't have to, say, worry about leopards chasing us down to eat us. So we have less use of a reflexive, first nature reaction to danger. We now live in a time where we can ask ourselves questions and weigh possibilities rather than just jumping into a situation. As such, our primal instincts, our reptilian brain, shrunk, but it never completely went away. Any adrenaline boost is an almost certain reactivation of the lizard brain. Competition, being startled, feeling threatened, All things we conveniently feel in a well-made video game. A tough boss is really giving you a run for your money. It's tough, but you feel you might still stand a chance if you can get this pattern down just right. For that quick minute of life or death in that game, 250,000 years of evolution undoes itself as you enter this animalistic state. Senses are heightened, reflexes are quick, and you get a drive to survive like never before. The lizard brain is activated in any well-made NES game. A game designed to piss you off with difficulty, but just enough so you don't want to quit. You want to win. The art brain will be the first thing that turns on in a well-made game, because you'll always see the game before you play it. Next, the lizard brain will eventually kick in when you come across difficult sections, which will then turn on the play brain as you slowly become more rational in your strategizing. A well-made game will continue to activate these parts of the brain in that exact order. See the game, react to a challenge, learn from the challenge, overcome the challenge, repeat. Art brain, lizard brain, play brain. That's the golden order of game design. If the play brain comes on before the lizard brain, then the players missed out on the element of challenge. If the art brain didn't come until the end, then the developer failed to make a lasting impression on the player. Take any game you've played, enjoyed, or would consider a great game. It will follow these sensibilities. This never-ending cycle, when done right, generates flow in a game. It'll keep you playing for hours instead of 30 minutes and giving up. This willingness to follow the flow of the game is the machine at work. This is the #1 reason why one of the unanimous things people don't like about many NES games is the lack of a save game or the use of password systems for saves. It's a speed bump in the player's flow. The second the developers pull the player out of the action because of a game over or the need to provide a password, the machine shuts down. When the reset button is pressed, the machine shuts down. The machine is easily the most delicate part of the gaming brain, and the most difficult to satisfy because of the subjectivity of flow. My idea of good flow is definitely different from yours, or hers, or that. I don't know what it was, but everyone just seemed to agree that Castlevania's flow was so perfect. If I were to guess why, it certainly wouldn't be because of its actual game design, but because the game nailed the manipulation of your other brain parts. Castlevania introduces you to a dark, spooky castle in the first screen of the game. It even makes the player walk into this giant castle on their own. That's a lot of art and emotion to throw into the first 35 seconds of an NES game of all things. That is definitely an activation of the art brain. The game then introduces every single feature you need to know about it in order to complete the game. They show you the enemies, staircases, water hazards, hidden food, power-ups, which in turn also teach you the role of the hearts, and the boss fight. What's so great about this method of design is it leaves all the learning to them, but is all contained in a single level. At least then, if the player doesn't grasp the concepts fully and gets a game over, they don't have to go far back. The player doesn't feel cheated out of progress. They don't have to put in that password or have that save game loaded up again. That flow isn't broken because it hasn't quite started yet. So let's wrap this up quick so you can stop watching this video and get on with your day. NES games are so fondly remembered because they were designed to appeal to your subconscious, whether the developers knew it or not at the time. Any well-made NES game would throw all of their punches in the first level, so there's no unfair surprises in the future. By doing this, the player was stimulated by the first 3 brain parts, the art brain, the lizard brain, and the play brain, in only the first level of the game. In keeping the same formula, only changing the sophistication of the challenges, level designs, bosses, the formula would repeat and create flow, igniting the machine. Not only was this an incredibly clever safeguard against the lack of a save feature on most NES games, but it was also a design scheme which would constantly be refreshing all 4 hemispheres of the gaming brain. That is so incredibly clever! Castlevania, and any other praised NES game, is still relevant today because of that. You can list off all of the good design decisions in the world when evaluating these games, but at the core, this era was a jungle gym for our cerebellums to play on. And that's why you've gotta play this. Happy Halloween, everyone.